Welcome back to the channel, and this week we're going to be as honest as possible.
This year in poker has been a straight grind so far, but one thing I promise you guys is I'm never going to shy away from giving you the full picture, so let's dive in.
For the first time in my 4-year poker career, we're at risk of booking a losing year because we are officially dead even in 2024.
What? Oh, what a loser!
My first 3 years of playing live poker pretty much went as smooth as possible. I was mainly playing 1-2 and was a consistent winner with limited downswings. But I think the reason for that is twofold. Reason number one is the player pool is just a lot weaker.
You kids are soft. You lack discipline. But I've got news for you. You are mine now. You belong to me.
People are just there to have a good time and splash around, so it was easy to pick apart the player pool for a reasonable win rate. And reason number two is the stack sizes. When stacks are capped at 100 big blinds effective, it's very easy to get the money all in by the river and maximize your winnings with good hands while limiting the downswings. But the 1-3 match stack game is just a different animal.
Come on, Miro. Come on. Run for your life.
Stacks are always huge, especially at Capital Casino, and the player pool is a lot tougher in general. It doesn't help that I play the morning shift and always leave at 2 p.m., but excuses are like assholes. Everyone has them, and they all stink.
Alrighty then.
So instead of making excuses, I'm going to focus on the mistakes I've made this year. I play way too aggressive against smaller stacks and play way too passive against deep stacks. My betting sizes suck because they're stuck in the past at 1-2 playing 100 big blind stacks. But ever since I identified these issues, I feel like I'm slowly improving little by little each day and building up my confidence once again.
But I say all that to say this. I guarantee to each and every one of you that I will be a profitable 1-3 player for the year 2024.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy.
Okay.
Okay?
Are you?
Absolutely.
But words mean nothing without a little action to back them up, so before we dive into this week's sessions, legendary coach Bobby Knight has a few choice words for me.
I'm not here to fuck around this week. Now you may be, but I'm not. Now you better get your head out of your ass.
After getting verbally abused by Coach Knight, we head out to the most entertaining card room in Sacramento, which is none other than Capital Casino. But before we get into this week's action, I just gotta announce that I created an Instagram account and I'll be posting some entertaining shorts and updates 2 to 3 times a week. I'm also hosting my weekly meetup game on the Club GG app, and it's a $100 buy-in, and I'll give $100 to the highest stack at the end of the night. If you want to join, click the links in the description and sign up using my reference code. We buy in for our usual $500 starting stack, but I promise a lot more chips will be on the table this week. We've had a slow start to the day, missing with a few good hands, so we're down about $90 early on. In this hand, the $6 straddle is on, and early position raises to $15. To me, this screams sizing tell. When the straddle is on and players bet super small in early position, it almost always means they have a medium strength hand at best. So when action folds to me and I look down at Jack-8 of diamonds, it's time to put him to the test. Calling here would be a mistake because it's a hand that doesn't play well multi-way, and I want to isolate the early position player. So I raise to $45 and it folds back to him and he puts in the call. We get rewarded with an above average flop and Jack 10-8 with 2 spades, giving us top and bottom pair. He checks and flow, and this board is super connected, so I need to size up. I throw out a bet of $65, but he folds right away, saying that he had pocket sixes.
I think it's safe to say that had me beat.
Next hand up is the local famous Capital Casino $15 bomb pot. If you watched my vlog last week, you already know that I'm the self-proclaimed king of bomb pots.
Stop the cap. Stop the cap right now. Stop the cap.
Only 5 people joined the party this round, so there's $70 in the pot after the drop, and we're dealt pocket 7s in the cutoff. We go straight to a flop of Jack 3-3 rainbow, giving us second pair. Action checks to me, and I would assume most players take a stab with top pair, so we're going to throw out a feeler bet of $25. Only the small blind puts in the call, and there's no draws on this board, so maybe he has a weak jack, smaller pair, or he's trapping with a 3. Turn peels off the 6 of hearts and he checks again. I'm fine with getting the showdown at this point, so I check it back. River's an interesting one, and the jack of clubs putting 2 pairs on the board. He checks for a 3rd time, and I think I could go for thin value, but I don't see what I'd target. So I check it back, and he says he's playing the board, so I turn over the winner. And in our first bomb pot of the day, the king retains his throne.
Oh la la! Oh, king in the castle, king in the castle.
For the next hour, we gradually lose some chips from our stack, trying to set mine with these dumb little pairs since that's the only way you can make money off of them. So like I promised earlier, a lot more chips are coming on the table. I add on $700 to my stack, so we're now into the game for $1,200 total. Next hand up, you guessed it, Capital Casino Bomb Pot. 8 people joined the party, so there's now $115 in the pot, and we get dealt the worst hand ever created in 7 deuce offsuit. Don't know how we're going to beat 7 other people with this garbage hand, but when the flop comes out 7-7-5 with 2 clubs, we might have a chance.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
Yeah!
Checks to me, and I throw out a value bet of $50. I didn't want to go too big to scare away any pairs, but I also wanted to charge the flush and straight draws. I guess this bet looked appealing to a few people because 3 people end up sticking in the call. I'm a little worried I don't have the best hand because other weak 7s like 7-3 and 7-4 might just call the bet since they're worried about being out kicked. But at the same time, there's a million draws out there, so we could still have the best hand. The pot is already sitting at $315, and we go to a turn which peels off the king of diamonds, putting 2 flush draws on the board. Checks to me again, and now it's decision time. I don't think I could afford to check in this spot because I need to get value from all the draws out there. So I size up to $175, and one by one they all fold, which I was pretty happy with. If you really think about it, there's not many cards in the deck that I want to see. Next hand up, there's 2 limps in early position from some action players. A tighter player in middle position now raises to $16 off a shorter stack, and the button puts in the call. I'm in the big blind and look down at pocket jacks. I would usually 3-bet in this spot, but I think given the setup, I don't think it's a good play. Main reason for that is the tighter player who opened will only give me action from better pairs, so I'm either dominated or I'll only take down $40 of dead money. So I just call, trying to keep other weak hands in the pot, and we do just that because both limpers put in the call. Going 5 ways to a flop with 75 in the middle, and the dealer puts out an 8-3-3 2-club board, giving us the overpair. Since I already played it unorthodox, why not keep it going? Since there's a flush draw out there, my hand needs protection from overcards, I decide to take the betting lead and lead out for $35. Only the player to my left puts in the call, so the pot is now sitting at $145. We go heads up to a turn, which peels off the 6 of hearts. This is a great card for me since it shouldn't change anything, so a value bet is still in order. I want to bet an amount that all his 8x holdings and flush draws will call, so I settle on a sizing of $85, and he calls once again. I think we would have heard from a 3 at this point, so it feels like he either has top pair or draw. Pot is up to $315, and our opponent has exactly $200 behind. The river comes out the 3 of hearts, giving us the full house. I'm pretty confident we have the best hand. We've established our opponent either has an 8 or a missed draw. So I decided to throw out a bet of $30. The reason for that is twofold. If he has an 8, he's obviously calling, and if he has a missed flush draw, he might see this as weakness and go all in to try and get us off of our hand. So I'm fine with either result, but he tells me he can't beat anything and tosses his hand in the muck. But no complaints here as we take down another solid pot.
If I had a 3, I'd bet 30.
No 30.
Next hand up is another Capital Casino $15 bomb pot. 8 people join the party again, and there's exactly $115 in the middle, and I get dealt the ladies, pocket queens. We go straight to a flop of Jack 7-7 rainbow, giving us the overpair. checks all the way to me, and I throw out a value bet of $50. Folds back to the player on my right, who now goes all in for $220. I figured he wouldn't do this with a 7 on such a dry board, so I'm about to snap call thinking he's overplaying a jack. But he tells me he's fine with taking it down now and flashes me the 7 of diamonds. I obviously snap fold now, and I guess Christmas came early this year because that gift saved us $170. So even when we don't win bomb pots, we get bailed out by miracles. We went a full dealer change without anything exciting happening, so for our last interesting hand of day 1, we played another bomb pot. 8 people joined again, so with $115 in the pot, we get dealt King 7 offsuit. We go straight to a flop of King Deuce Deuce Rainbow, giving us top pair. Checks to me in middle position, and I really don't see a point in betting. I don't think I could get value from a worse holding, and I really don't need much protection. So I check, and action gets checked around. Still 8 ways to a turn, which peels off the 9 of clubs. Checks to the player on my right, who now bets $40. I'm not really loving it, since he could have a slow played deuce or have a better king, but folding is out of the question right now, so I put in the chips. Everyone else gets out of the way, so we're going heads up to a river, which comes out the queen of diamonds. He now slows down and checks, so I think he's either trapping or has a 9. Given that the queen came out on the river, I think it'll be hard to get value from a pair of 9s, so I decide to check it back. He says that he just has a 9 and I turn over the winner. All jokes aside about being the king of bomb pots, but they've truly saved my ass so far this month. Off to the outro.
Feel like it hasn't happened in ages, but we finally booked a smooth, easy win for once. In for $1,200 and out for $1,444 for a solid $244 profit. Hope day 2 goes just as smooth.
The action for day 2 gets started just a few minutes into the session. Early position opens the action to $13 and 3 people put in the call. I'm in the big blind and look down at the ladies, pocket queens. I'm never calling in the spot, so I throw in the 3 bet to $70, hoping to only go 2, maybe 3 ways to a flop. And we get exactly what we want because the original raiser puts in the call and a middle position player goes all in for less. So there's $200 in the main pot and $10 in the side pot, and we go heads up to a pretty good flop of 8-5-3 with 2 spades, giving us the overpair. I throw out a pretty hefty bet of $135, targeting overpairs worse than mine and all the draws available. But the original raiser doesn't think that's enough and goes all in for my remaining stack of $207. I couldn't put in the chips any faster, and I turn over my hand like I always do when I'm all in. The total pot has ballooned to $884, so we're looking to fade some cards. Turn isn't the best card in the deck because it peels off the king of diamonds, but the river seems alright and the king of clubs, making it less likely he has one. He looks at my hand and tosses his in the muck, saying that he had ace-5 of hearts for flop pair, backdoor straight and flush draws. Don't mind his play since I could be betting ace-king there, and his hand has it dominated. But we start off day 2 scooping in this massive pot. For this next hand, the $6 straddle is on and 2 players in early position put in the call. I'm on the button, and for the second time today, I look down at the ladies, pocket queens. I want to make sure I get action, especially since I'm in the best position possible, so I just raise them to $25. Only the first limper puts in the call, who is the same opponent from last hand. With $60 in the middle, the flop comes out queen 9-4 with 2 diamonds, giving us top set. He checks in flow, and I throw out a $20 bet, hoping to keep all his pairs in there. He quickly calls, so the pot is sitting at $100 even, and the turn comes out the best card in the deck and the 4 of hearts, giving us top boat. He checks again, and a lot of low stakes players would check back in this spot, having the hand locked up, but I think that's a huge mistake. At this point, the goal is to go for stacks, and if our opponent has a flush draw, or jack 10 for the straight draw, you want to get your value now in case the river is a blank. So given that, I throw out a bet of $60 thinking all those draws would call that amount. But instead of calling, our opponent does the last thing I was expecting and raises to $170.
Hey, Is this real life?
Yeah, this is real life.
He has 230 left in his stack, and at this point, the only move is to call. He's basically saying that he has a 4 or a set of 9 since most players don't wait to semi-bluff with draws on the turn. So I put in the chips, and the river comes out the beautiful 3 of clubs, which shouldn't really change anything. Our opponent goes all in, and we snap call and fast roll our hand. The table is an absolute shock when our opponent rolls over the 4 of spades, and we unfortunately stack him in this ultimate cooler. He was a good sport about it, and he played that hand really well because if I was holding aces or kings, he gets all my money. But I'm just glad to finally be on the right side of a major cooler. So today obviously couldn't have started any better, but we get called to the main game and we're forced to move tables. We're still unracking our chips after getting moved, and I wish I could make this up, but the first hand I get dealt at the new table is the best hand ever created in pocket aces. I raise them up to $15 and get 3 callers in the field. With $60 in the middle, the flop comes out Jack 9-6 with 2 diamonds, giving us the overpair. I mentioned at the beginning of the video that my sizings in this game have been terrible because I've been betting too small. My default would have been a $25 bet, but I think that's a major mistake since there's so many hands to get value from. There's all the hands containing a flush draw, straight draw hands like 7-8 and Queen 10, top pair holdings, pair plus flush draws, and maybe even some curious middle pairs that have some backdoor opportunities. So instead of betting small, I size up to $50 to get value from all those hands, but one by one, they all fold.
Look at all those chickens.
It's actually gonna be funny.
In this next hand, there's one limp in early position, and I raise ace-jack offsuit to $20. Both the cutoff and limp are put in the call, so we're going 3 ways to a flop of Jack 6-3 rainbow, giving us top pair, top kicker. Checks to me, and I throw out a half pot value bet of $30 to get value from weaker jacks and 4-5. Only the cutoff puts in the call, so the pot is doubled to $120, and the turn is an interesting one in the deuce of spades. 4-5 gets there for the straight, but against face-up opponents, I always use the bet-fold strategy. The bet-fold strategy is you keep value betting your good hands, and if you get raised on the turn or river when draws get there, you just toss your hand in the muck without thinking twice. So I keep the aggression going and throw out another value bet, but for $65 this time. He calls again, so I think we could take 4-5 out of the picture. The pot's now sitting at $250 even, and the river pairs the board with the 6 of hearts. I think the only play is to value bet for a third time and target a weaker jack. So I throw out 6 green chips for a $150 bet, but our opponent snap folds. Since he snap folded, I don't think he had a jack because he probably would have tanked a little longer, so maybe he had a hand like pocket nines that was curious, or he picked up a flush draw on the turn and missed with that river. Either way, we have a dream session going because we just passed over the $1,000 profit mark in less than 2 hours at the tables. But unfortunately, for the next 2 hours, we had worse luck than every character in a Final Destination movie. We'd pick up some monster hands that either missed their draws or were dominated by better pairs. So all that led to our last hand before 2 o'clock quickly approached. I took a quick break, so I came back and bought the blinds in the small blind. Under the gun opens the $7, which was a major sizing tell, and it always meant he had a weak hand. Folds to a solid player in the cutoff, who now raises to 30. I felt like he was doing this light because he was in position and wanted to play a pot heads up with the under the gun player's weakness. Now the button calls the $30, and I'm in the small blind and look down at ace-queen offsuit. Given this setup, I think I have the best hand, and when that's the case, a raise is definitely in order. So I bump up the price of poker to $120 since I'm out of position. Under the gun player folds, but now the cutoff goes all in for about $500 total. Button gets out of the way, and I think at best I'm flipping with pocket jacks, but I'm most likely in terrible shape. So I just snap fold and we punt $120. I don't really mind the play, but I think I just ran into it this time. That was our last interesting hand of the day, so let's get to the outro.
We had an amazing start to the day with both those pocket queens hands, but for the last couple hours, we just couldn't connect with the flop. In for 500 and out for 1108 for a solid $608 win to end the week.
As for this week, we played a total of 7 hours and 45 minutes of live poker and booked an amazing profit of $852. I'm not the best at math, but 0 plus 852 brings our yearly profit to 852 total. Wouldn't mind if every week went like this, but I know that's just not realistic. Just gotta keep sharpening the tools in the tool belt and grind it out. Thanks for watching, and as always, I hope you guys run good at the tables, and I'd appreciate it if you could hit the subscribe button to help me reach my new year-end goal of 10,000 subscribers.